first of all, I have to congratulate you on Angry Young Men winning the best series, non-fiction series at Filmfare, and for I think Roshans, the Roshans at ITA, best series at ITA, and also for Dining with the Kapoors, which is doing so well on Netflix. So
Thank
I think it's been a very intense and very rewarding end of the year for you.
It has been truly. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me.
I think because I'm actually personally also really looking forward to talking about, how you went about approaching each of these projects. Because I told you I was watching Dining with the Kapoors, and it was so like just the way that it looked like, it had so many camera angles, and you said there were like 40 audio tracks and stuff. So I wanted to kind of decode all of that with you. But I also want to first kind of ask you, like, how did you find editing and how did editing find you?
Um, I think it was editing wasn't planned. I didn't even know what it meant, what it was. I had done a course from Sapphires in mass communication, which is like a 1 year course, which everything tucked into it, but no specialization. So I really had no clue. After I finished the course, I went back to Delhi, which was my native place, and I went back to my parents, and I took up a job there with Vinod Dua, who was used to be a veteran journalist, and he was starting a TV program, a weekly TV show called Parak. And they were looking for interns, associates to come in, assistants to come in. And I sort of got pushed into the edit room. It wasn't a voluntary, there was no power I had to decide I could go here or there. It was just very new. So I just sort of got pushed into the edit room with two very senior editors, Himanshu and Kapil. And I just started working with them, largely making tea and logging and transcribing, mostly that. But so I never went on shoots. So I don't know, it just happened. It's not something I planned, or it was very organic that I just entered the edit room and I honestly just stayed there. And of course, no regrets. So I worked a lot under Himanshu Kapil, and I worked on a lot of TV shows. Thereafter, I joined ZTV for a year in Delhi. Then I started freelancing as an editor, and I then joined a company called Miditech, um, and I worked there for 7 years. That was a really good run for me because I worked across various formats, various shows, and various channels from BBC to Star, National Geographic, a lot of wildlife documentaries, a lot of unscripted content. Um, but there was also a desire to move towards fiction, typically. And though I didn't go to any film school. So eventually in 2011, it's when my husband and I moved to Bombay, and we produced, wrote, directed, shot our first feature film, which was called Listen Amaya, with Farooq Sheikh, Dipti Nawal, and Swara Bhaskar. And it released, it was a small release. It released in 2013. And so I only moved to Bombay like 15 years ago, 14 years ago. Yeah. Um, and ever since then, for some reason, I think I've done some fiction, but more non-fiction comes to my door, which is fine. But that's just how it's been. Yeah. But editing, I think we just chose each other by chance. Wasn't anything by design.
Right. But Geeta, so how did you, your first, let's say, outside of your film that you produced, how did you land your first editing gig
In Bombay,
in Bombay?
I think you because when I moved to Bombay, it's not like I knew a lot of people, right? Because I had a gap of 20 years that I had not been here, right? So it was really starting from somewhat scratch again. So it was just meeting people, word of mouth. Just I remember I did this. It was a documentary on the Ambani Hospital, which was for National Geographic. So it was just, I think, through friends. Somebody knew me, they recommended me. It just happened really by word of mouth. And just started, typically how you start networking and meeting people and just making contacts. And that's pretty much how it started. Yeah.
But so since you mentioned networking, do you feel like, like when we have to land that first gig, or and the second and the third, it's not like it gets easier subsequently. So do you feel like it's kind of a combination of networking and obviously supported by your talent and the skill that you develop? What do you think there's a formula? Because you know how it is, right? Like right now, when people are kind of struggling to find work, they think a lot of people think that networking is it, you know?
No. Yeah, I would say it's a balance. There are some people who thrive on that, thrive on networking, and somehow it works for them. But for me, I feel, yeah, initially you need to network because people need to know that you exist. उनको पता ही नहीं है, तो how will they even contact you, right? So it's creating awareness about you, about your skill set, your talent, and the work that you've done. So once that awareness is there, I think you can take a sort of a back seat because your work will speak for itself. So if you're good, you've done some good shows, films, whatever, it'll be there for people to see in the public eye, and you may not need to network like that anymore. Uh, so I think I had to do that initially just to make people aware that I have come here. I'm also an editor. I'm new. I've come from Delhi. So for people to know that there is somebody called Geeta Singh, right? So initially I had to do it, but after a point, I really feel uh, it's not necessary. Some people love it. They thrive on it, making new contacts, and it works for them. So I think to each his own.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but then no magic formula.
I wish there was.
Yeah.
But yeah, there isn't any. And I think
Then.
we all have to make our own formulae as we go.
Mm.
Whatever works for you is your formula. Whatever works for me is mine. Sometimes we also learn from each other. I might
Mm.
say, okay, doing it this way. Maybe there is something to learn from there and try that out. Why not? So, but yeah, there is no real method. I think I think instinct. What feels right to you? If you feel that, yeah, I want to go down this route where I keep calling 20 people a day and, hammering them with emails and phone calls, fine. That's your way of doing it. I'm not that person. And I also find it hard because I also feel if I put myself in that person's shoes, and if I the same person calling me every now and then, it can get pretty annoying. It can backfire.
Yeah.
So you find your method.
I think some great advice right there to not keep calling people. I
Oh,
think that is
yeah.
that is that is definitely something that
It's how receptive the other person is. Sometimes it's also how you word your messages or
mm,
how you how you're coming across. If you're coming across something is very pushy or, you know, cocky, arrogant, I don't know. You know what I mean? Sometimes
yeah,
I get messages from an assistant or
yeah,
associate. I read the message and it sounds very honest and I want to reply immediately and I do
right.
because I know what the other person is going through. I understand that there's a need for work and I've been
Mm.
through that. So I appreciate that and I reply. But sometimes I find the messages so wrongly worded that I ignore. So I think it's very important also to put yourself out. Don't use Chat GPT. Write it yourself. Write it in the most honest fashion. And therefore, I feel the person you're reaching out to will eventually get back sooner or later.
Also, at the time that you were starting off, and obviously now, uh, social media, I think, has also connected people. Like it's easier to connect with
Yeah.
seniors and to ask for work versus, but it's also, I think, somehow communication skills have worsened. Even though
Yeah.
communication itself is easier, but this communication skill has, as you're saying, like sometimes people just word their messages so in such an inappropriate manner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a whole thing of we are in a world which is so connected yet so disconnected. I think it really comes from that space of just not being truthful and honest in choosing your words. It doesn't have to be the perfect English grammar. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, you know what I mean? It's just when you read a message, you can sense the honesty in it. And very often when I read a message and I know, okay, this person, I might like to work with this person. So I would like to respond. I may not have work right now, but maybe 2 months down the line, reach out to me again. But there are people who I sometimes just avoid because it just sounds like a copy paste from somewhere and put somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. But also, Geeta, so interesting that you kind of mentioned instinct and you mentioned honesty, which I think we all agree that so much of that reflects in your work as well, right? So speaking of, can you worked on, I'm naming the three major projects which have released, I think, in the past year, 24-25 year. So as I said, Dining with the Kapoors, The Roshans, and Angry Young Men. Now, three very different projects, firstly, right? Um, can you just, were there kind of, is there a common approach you took to all three of them? Or, obviously there were some differences as well. Can you just take me through the process, like organizational as well? Because obviously, going by what you said, the organization was a large part of it, but also, then how you utilize the resources available, and then how you use creativity to kind of put these three projects together.
Yeah. So, bottom line, I think in terms of organizing, I follow a very, very similar approach each and every time. And I think it's a formula that I've cracked and it works wonderfully. And I would happily share that. So, Angry Young Men had close to 800 hours of footage. The good thing was that I started Angry Young Men when they started shooting. So it was very simultaneous. There were not heaps of footage that were coming to me after they've shot. So it was easy on me. The interviews, everything would start coming in. I would listen to it. So we were working together simultaneously. So, but in terms of, we had 65 to 70 interviews. Each interview was a minimum of 4 hours, going up to 7 to 8 hours per interview. So it was a lot. It can be intimidating when you see that kind of footage. Okay, now there's no script. There is nothing. There is some vague idea of some structure, right? So you have to obviously make sense of all that footage. Now, so I said, okay, now how do I manage all this material? And my assistant Kashyap was working with me at that time, and we said, okay, let's find common themes across these 65, 70 people. So, for example, a big theme in that series was arrogance, how Salim Javed used to be very arrogant people, fought for their money and credit and all of that, rightfully so. So that was it. So we said, okay, this is a theme, and there are like 30 people talking about this one theme. So I created a timeline which said arrogance. And I had everybody contributing to that idea in that timeline. So similarly, I had 50 such timelines which were thematic. So it could be talking about their struggle, their childhood, how they met, their first film. So there were every timeline had a topic and it had everybody, whoever spoke about it on that timeline. So that was very easy. Because once I had that broken down, I gave one example, Antara, and I give it every time to every assistant, and it works very well as an analogy. I say, if I give you a toast, a full toast to eat at one go, can you? Can you eat up the whole toast? You can't. But the moment you break it into bites, you can. It's the same thing here. When you break down all your material into smaller bits, smaller sections, sequences, ideas, themes, working is much easier. So I created themes like this for all the three shows, Roshan's, Angry Young Men, and Dining with the Kapoor. So that was one thing. And I also spent a lot of time organizing my material. I spent almost 1 to 2 months in a project of 10 months. I would give 2 months to organizing at least. Because if that is done, then you're not, when you start your actual edit process, when you actually start editing, you're not wasting time and looking for, oh, shot kahan hai, wo dialogue line kidhar hai. You're not finding stuff. You're actually, you know where everything is. And then the joy of actually creating comes in. So those 2 months are very crucial. And I insist that my assistants, associates always follow that method. I teach them, I show them my projects, how I like them organized. Even the B-rolls, everything is structured, everything is broken down into, it could be, if the B-roll is like down to street shots, down to shots of people or markets or whatever. Everything is a timeline. Everything is so wonderfully segregated that in a jiffy you can find something that you're looking for. The one thing that I did for Angry Young Men um, is I did my radio edits first. I didn't even worry about the visual because I said visual to aa hi jayega. You can start your embellishments and your visualization, music, sound, graphics, blah, 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 all that once your base is ready. Because there is no script in unscripted, really the editors are the writers. So the radio edit that I did was largely putting interviews back to back in a in an audio form, in a story form. So if you were to just close your eyes and sit, then person A is saying say 3 lines of a thought, and person B continues that idea, C, D, and so on and so forth. And so it becomes like an audio story. So it's like a script. It's just that it's visual. And once you have that, then you can start building on it or creating your pauses, putting your shots, putting your visuals. And the radio edits are very often in jump cuts. I don't care. Even if it's too careful, I don't worry about it. It doesn't matter, right? It's just getting the audio right. अच्छा ये कहानी ऐसी है, यहाँ से शुरू होगी, यहाँ खत्म होगी. ये मेरी कहानी. उसके बाद आप visuals डालो, music डालो, gap डालो, archives, photos, whatever your thing is. But the radio edit is sacrosanct. And I feel if anybody working in unscripted, that's the way to go.
But Geeta, quick question. So you've got so much footage in front of you. You said you make the radio edits. Isn't it, do you have a moment of absolute fear before you start, or have you gotten over it by now?
Every time. The first 1 week is like it's sleepless nights. Like I feel ye kaise hoga? I won't be able to do it. But I also know that I've done it. And I also know I'll overcome the week. I know that. But you also have to go through that feeling again and again. And it's a good thing to go through it because it keeps you grounded, it keeps you humbled, it keeps you dedicated. It takes away any scope of ego and arrogance. Fear is very important. It's
Okay.
important to feel unsure sometimes.
Okay.
It's okay to feel unsure because how can you not feel unsure?
Right.
I don't have any blueprint. It's a really an empty canvas, and I can say, okay, I can start from here or I can start from there. But if I start from here, I go there. If I start from here, I go there, and I don't know what's going to work. I have no, and nobody does. Even your director doesn't know. So it is scary, but it's only the first 5-7 days that is scary. Then you know that it just becomes like it's your second skin. You
Yeah.
just ease into the process, and because you know you've done it in the past, you know with confidence that you will come out of it.
So after all this organization happens, and you've got presumably, like, you have to start somewhere. What
Yeah.
is your absolute first day? This is after organization and all
Yeah.
kind of done, and you have to kind of start putting it together.
Really.
What's your absolute first step?
In the organization, I just want to go back one step. Is that I don't know whether you can see the glass wall here. There's a glass wall behind my chair in my studio, and that I use that very efficiently. I put up little post-its and stickies on that, which is really my it's like my mind map. And I put down ideas, beginnings, endings, middles, thoughts, transitions, audio cuts that might work. So when I begin my first year of edit, I have already some idea of what my first shot might be. Because I've also done a paper edit, right? So I know that, okay, I'm going to begin with Salim Javed's childhood. I've decided that. It's already on paper. And so that's my beginning. So I will obviously, if I'm going to start with the radio edit, right? So I'm going to say, okay, I've talked about Salim Javed's childhood. So I go into that timeline which says Salim Javed's childhood, the thematic timeline, and I start taking out bites of people who have spoken about that idea and start constructing the radio edit around that, around the theme of their childhood. So I just begin like, I don't look at the B-rolls at all. वो तो बाद में आएगा. Radio edit के लिए, I know कि paper edit is my go-to place, and I'll follow that, and I'll start constructing the radio edit as per the paper edit, approximately. Of course, things change.
Yes, sure. But like when you have to start somewhere, that's
Yeah,
what you do.
yeah, that okay, I want to talk about Salim Javed's childhood. So Javed Saab talks about, what happened when he was 8 years old.
Yeah.
There's an incident. So I'll begin with that. Today I begin with that. Tomorrow I might change it. But
Sure.
at least you have to start somewhere. It's true. So I'll start with that. Okay, this is my idea, and you just make that first step. You have to take that first
Yeah.
step. Begin with
Yeah.
that first step. I'll just stay true to the paper edit for the moment and not cause too much trauma to myself. It's okay. Let's begin with that, and we'll see. And then honestly, after first 5, 6 days, then you are so comfortable. Then acha, now this is not working. Maybe this can move here and I can actually start with Salim Saab maybe, or start with somebody else. So yeah.
Geeta, you'll just elaborate on this idea of the thematics.
Yeah. So what I did was that once I'd created the thematic timelines, I matched the timelines onto an Excel sheet. So for example, if you're taking the arrogance idea, there was a column in the Excel sheet which said arrogance.
Okay.
And so for suppose there is say Anil Kapoor, then Karan Johar, then Farah, three people are talking about arrogance in my timeline. The same people are mentioned in the Excel sheet also in the same order. And suppose Farah has said a word like tevar, okay? And so that word sticks out, right? So I'll write tevar there. So when I'm looking, and because it's also muscle memory, right? So I remember that, yeah, somebody had said about tevar. But after 65 interviews, I won't remember who. But I'll go in the Excel sheet and type tevar, and Farah will pop up. And because it's mapped to my timeline, I'll know that she is the fourth person on my timeline.
But
So
who was making these sheets for you?
So my assistant would do it. Initially, I started him off that, okay, I helped him. We came up with the idea together because we said first we started working literally on a chart paper because I like to write with pencil and paper. तो हमने chart paper पे ऐसे ज़मीन पे बैठ के ऐसे thematics create किए. Then I said, Kashyap, we to run out of interviews because there are 65 people. ऐसे तो खत्म हो जाएगा. How many papers will we have? We said, okay, we have to cancel this idea, and we put it on an Excel sheet. So I started this with him, and then he would every day, once the thematic was ready, he would transport that into the Excel sheet. Physically type out keywords on that. That Farah has said this, Karan Johar said this, and so on said that. So searching for things became very fast. Also, by the end of 1 year, it was muscle memory. We actually didn't have to read the Excel sheet because we started remembering everything. But initially, for us to reach that stage, it really helped us.
Um, so tell me, when I'm talking to you, it all sounds so intimidating to be working with this kind of footage and this quantum of footage. Um, can we talk a bit about dining with the Kapoors in this context? Because I know that was like really insane, right?
Yeah. So Dining with the Kapoors actually came to me a little later. It was already in post with another team. But somehow those edits were not working for whatever reason. So I came in very, very late. Like almost a year late.
And you had a very tight deadline to deliver, if I'm not wrong.
4 months. Yeah, 4 months.
That's insane.
So actually, the earlier team had presented up to NC5. So I had to present NC6. That was protocol. So I had to present. But the good thing was, luckily, touch wood, my NC6, and we went straight to picture lock. So it was literally one cut. So that was good. But the challenge in that were multifold. First, it was that I had to change the whole approach. The approach to the show had to be re-looked at. Um, it wasn't a documentary on Raj Kapoor. Yet the backdrop was his 100th birth anniversary, so there had to be some amount of course, Raj Kapoor's presence, his cinema, and all of that, and of course, the lunch. The trick, the challenges in that were that we had this family, which is loud and happy and all talk at the same time, and there were 24 or 25 people, I think, talking for 8 hours together with multiple audio tracks. So I think close to 40, 35, 40 tracks. And everybody's talking at the same time. Now, you can which is what happened in the earlier cuts, I think, is where everything was like a montage. So all the audio tracks are on. So it's like a cacophony of sound and there was music. But if you look at it, an audience is only going to come and drawn into this show if they can get to hear what these people are talking about. Like, what are Ranveer and Kareena saying? What is Karishma saying? What are these pockets of conversation that are happening? For that, we had to isolate literally every track. Every time somebody was speaking, we had to isolate that person and say, okay, what is this person talking? What is Neetu saying to Ranveer? And everybody else is muted. Okay, I'm making some sense of this conversation. So like this, for every bit, so there are 4 people talking here. At the same time, there are 2 people talking somewhere else. in the same moment, right? So we had to isolate those tracks, hear the conversation, make sense of that story, see if it's working for our narrative, and then pick that out. That was very hard. It was very hard because it took time, and I only had 4 months. And of the 4 months, I spent the first 3 weeks to 1 month organizing, because ek to I didn't know the footage. It's all new for me. And it wasn't just the 8 hour lunch. It was archive, it was photographs, it was films, it was other sequences that they had shot. For example, they go visit the Chembur house for the last time. There were small stories like this. So I had to watch everything in 1 month, figure everything out, do my organizing that we have to do. And then I have 3 months left to finish my first cut. And in that 3 months, we were sitting in, me and my assistant, isolating tracks, hearing stories, taking out sequences. Okay, and making sense also, that how is this going to cut to what? How will it flow? Is it a continuity of thought? Where am I coming from? Where am I going? And if I'm going somewhere, how long am I away from the lunch for? Will the audience forget that there's a lunch happening? So the balance of keeping the audience away from the lunch and then bringing them back seamlessly, and then having interesting conversations, so that the audience feels in that you are sitting at their dining table and you're invited to their lunch. And if you're invited to their lunch, then you want to hear what they're saying. You don't want to be just seeing a music montage. That won't work. And that is what it was my hardest project. It was hardest because of the complexity of it.
Of course.
Yeah.
It, but honestly, again, Geeta, it sounds so intimidating. I mean, organization, of course, but I feel like it takes a lot out of you as an editor to have even a certain mental and emotional stamina to see through something like this. I feel like organization is probably, of course, it's the, as you said, it's the base. But how do you train? Like, have you found a way to even train yourself to not, go completely nuts? Because this sounds insane to me, to be
Yeah.
dealing with this with, the additional pressure of a schedule. It's not like you can just edit, endlessly.
I think the over the years I've done so much of unscripted content that now it doesn't intimidate me. Of course, it did initially, but now I think it's become so much a part of my being that it doesn't. I know the method. Here, I know the formula. I have a method, and I know that it works every time. So I don't feel worried on that account. Yes, of course, every project comes with its own problems and challenges. And for example, even in Roshan's, there was a time we had said, okay, we'll do one episode per person. So Roshan Saab, Rakesh Roshan, uh, and Rajesh and Ritik. But Netflix had an idea that why don't we intercut between the 4 people, or at least the 3 people. Have Roshan Saab as one episode because uh, he is the one who started this whole thing, and then intercut between 3. But that seemed like an impossible task because their careers are overlapping. They are also individual. They have their own journeys. They have worked with each other separately. They have struggled, succeeded, failed, bounced back. It was, I mean, if we had to do that would have taken, like, I would say 2-3 years to figure that route out. That if we are to do this, a juxtaposing kind of a thing and not have one episode per person, that was another ball game. But there was no time for that. Angry Young Men came with its own thing. Again, we are dealing with these 2 writers who have their own journeys yet have worked together. There were personal stories, there were professional stories, there was so much. So that structuring also, in fact, our first cut, which we presented to the producers, was not what is actually now out. Yeah. Our first episode and second episode were actually swapped. Now, it's very easy to say swapped, but they were, in the sense that we had put their Salim Javed's childhood and struggle stories actually in episode 2 in our initial cut.
Right.
The producers felt that they would like to follow a linear journey, with beginning with their beginnings and how they met, and then how they made Zanjeer, and then of course the rest of it. So we spent 6 months in creating those 2 episodes, but we had to go back to the drawing board because we had to. Because when you say swap, it's not really swap,
Of
right?
course.
It's okay. Some things get swapped. The rest you have to really start again. So that threw us back by 6 months. And it's also with Javed Saab's story. Then we're cutting to Salim Saab's story, coming back to Javed Saab. So that again, intercutting um, was also fun. It's interesting. How do we structure this? And that is where the Radiohead it really helped.
But Geeta, with something like whether it's feedback from the producers or the network, or like we're constantly in this kind of vortex of feedback at any given time, right? How do you feel the way you receive feedback? Has it changed over the years, over projects, or do you feel like you've always been very, accepting of feedback?
I take feedback in good spirit. That's one. One should take it in good spirit, because at the end of the day, everyone's intention is the show, is the film, right? That's the idea. It's not you, me. It's nobody. So all egos set aside. So that is the main thing. I think feedback. It's not about changing across the years. I think it just depends from production house to platform to platform. Some people are just more articulate in their feedback. They are more specific. They're able to tell you why it's not working, or sometimes even give you solutions. And there are some people who will just simply say कि मजा नहीं आया, कुछ कर दो, try something like. So that's when you get really frustrated, because that is not a feedback. Because मजा नहीं आया means I don't, मुझे तो आया, तो तभी मैंने किया. But आपको नहीं आ रहा, तो then you have to tell me क्यों नहीं आया. But that everyone cannot articulate and tell you कि क्यों नहीं आया मजा. So I think it just depends. But I think I'm easy when it comes to feedback. I don't get so flustered by it, because I feel that doesn't serve any purpose, getting flustered. The idea is to initiate a dialogue. That, okay, why? Can we go point by point and understand? For example, even when I was doing Kapoor's, I wanted Raj Kapoor Saab's archival section to be a little longer, because I felt it's his 100th birth anniversary. This family is coming to celebrate his 100th birthday. And, it deserves a little more. And I had, in my cut, I had a little more, like one more song, few more people talking about it and analyzing his cinema. But Netflix felt that, maybe it's a little extra, maybe just a tad bit. Um, so, and there were some other feedback also, which there was. So I also feel at some point you have to pick your battles and say, okay, um, I'll agree to this, but this I definitely want to do. Like, I want to retain this edit, and this is why. And sometimes I honestly feel that if you come across with a good enough, honest, sincere reason as to why or you have done something or not done something, chances are that it'll be bought, because your conviction will show through.
But Geeta, also, can you tell me a little bit about, you know, all the experience that you've got and the method that you've created for yourself? Is it easy to explain that to people you hire, for instance, your assistant editor or the associate editor? How do you because I always feel that it's a bit of a Chinese whisper, na? That everyone interprets it differently and understands it differently. How do you kind of make sure that whoever's working with you on your team also is working towards the same vision?
I think I connect really well with my associates and assistants. So I have a good like a warm up phase. We get to know each other. We talk personal things. That I create a comfort zone. Um, it's a warm space. It's a safe space, and then I introduce them to my method of working. How I and really show them my project. It's so neat. And I said, I cannot take timelines which are messy. I will not touch them. So don't give them to me. And this is how I like it. So I spend a good amount of time explaining, showing them physically that this is how it is. This is how I like my B-roll structured, my music, your sound effects, and everything. So it might take them a couple of days. Each person comes with their own baggage, with their own sometimes insecurities. Some people are very new to the city. So I ease out people, and these are very important things to do, because we have to work with them for a year. And if they're not going to feel comfortable, then work will not get done.
What do you think, though? What are the qualities that you're looking out for when you're hiring an assistant associate, considering you're working on such intensive projects?
A couple of things. One is punctuality. It's very important for me. I mean, it begins like that actually. If we say we're going to start at 9, we must start at 9, which means we must be here by 8:45. So we can begin by 9. Right? You can have your coffee, get your system on, do your chit chat. You know, if you're a smoker, have your smoke, whatever, all of that. So that's very important. Then somebody who is receptive, somebody who can also a quick learner. Because very often, for example, in dining with the Kapoors, if I have somebody who's not a quick learner, I don't have the time to explain. I need somebody who can pick up fast and somebody who can also come up with solutions. Sometimes I'm stuck. It's not like it's not like I'm God. I can also get stuck. We all get stuck, right? So I can also lean on that person. That's, that what do you think? How should we approach this? Like what like I can't it's like a writer's block. I don't know where to go from here. I don't have the right cut. I don't have the right idea. So I need that person to be a thinking person, to be able to be receptive, to generate ideas, and also not be fearful of sharing ideas. Ideas are not always great. Sometimes we come up with really bad ideas, as do I. Everybody does. But उस bad idea में से कभी आपको एक good idea निकलेगा. Because अब मैं कुछ बोलूंगी, वो it'll become a discussion, right? I'll say something, that person something, and you'll say, hey, wow, that's it, bingo. So don't be scared. Come up with something. Think about it. Be spontaneous. And be, of course, very, very organized and persistent. You have to show up every day.
Yeah.
Angry Young Men was 3 years, and
Wow.
you have to show up every day with. And I used to come here every day, not knowing when will this be released, where will it be released, who is going to watch it. We have no idea. So there could be days when you come in super enthusiastic that, hey, you know what, I thought of this amazing idea last night and I want to try it, and I think it's going to work. Some days you come here with nothing, no idea, like dead, because you're just burnt out.
What do you do then, but Geeta, because this is also something that I personally want to know, and I'm curious to know what editors do, because I feel like there are a lot of days when one can't bring their 100%, no?
That's okay. That's also okay. I think it's okay to accept that there'll be days where it'll be 5%, but that's fine. You probably need to reset and you need that break so that you can come back to the 100%. And I think इतना वो नहीं करना चाहिए अपने आप को कि अरे आज तो कोई idea नहीं है. अरे नहीं है. There is no machine, there's no button that you're pressing and ideas will come out. I wish it was like that, but there isn't. You are the source. So somewhere you also have to just nurture and take care of yourself. And it's okay. So allow yourself that time to just have a bad day. And honestly, it's not a bad day. Something to chal raha hai andar. It's just that you're not able to express it or you've just not hit it. But those bad days eventually lead to some wonderful days. And you
So
have to
you think
allow.
that there is some, like, processing happening at a subliminal sort of level that might.
Absolutely.
That's a very interesting way of looking at it. I didn't think of that.
When when I start a project, most of that year, 2 a.m. I'm up. Yeah, because there'll be something, some idea will come and I'll get up from my sleep. And then I will just make a note of it because I know that by the morning I might forget it. And it's a lovely idea. And it will come at that hour because you're thinking about it. There are some people who also switch off, who go home and don't worry and leave the edit aside. I'm not that person. I take it back with me very much to bed and it stays with me. So it you're never actually silent. You're always thinking, you're always talking to yourself. It's a very subliminal, subconscious thing that's happening. And I think it's free flowing, allow it to happen because wonderful things are happening inside. No day is bad.
That's very reassuring to hear.
Yeah,
Because
I think
I didn't think of it that way, that maybe there is something brewing,
always.
you know?
Yeah. And I feel one shouldn't think about it also much. Oh, acha, now, am I thinking of something? Are some ideas coming? Forget it. They are coming. They are just, you're just not aware. You are aware in a sort of a subconscious way.
Yeah.
But distract yourself, do something. And you know what I do on those days when I'm not able to uh, like cut. I'm not able to put an edit. I'm not able to think of something. I can't create a sequence. I move to music. I start saying, okay, today I know that for the next sequences that are coming up, I'm going to need certain types of music, which I don't have. There could be temp tracks, which is fine. We all work with temp music. So I start doing that. I start looking for music. It's very calming. That helps you think. When you might hear a track, maybe it's a vocal track and you'll hear some words. उससे आपको कोई idea आएगा कि अरे यहाँ पे तो ये visual बड़ा अच्छा काम करेगा. So you're using your day. It's not gone wasted. You're just using it differently, which in any case you're going to have to do it. Some days, some point, I'm going to need that music piece. तो उस दिन की जगह मैं आज कर लेती हूँ. So I utilize my days like that. When I'm very fatigued, I say, okay, I can't do this right now. Maybe I can do a preparatory day for day after, that I know I have to cut the sequence and it's got a lot of footage. It's all messy. It's like maybe it's multicam and I need to sort that multicam thing out. So why don't I do that today? Because it's more mechanical work and my assistant is doing something else. So I'll do that. So I do it like that. I just do something else, which is less taxing.
That's so interesting. But also, since you mentioned fatigue, I want to just kind of, I'll tell you what I feel sometimes when I'm working. I feel like the schedules that we are working towards don't really allow you to even feel fatigued, or they don't allow you those days, as you so rightly have said, that there are days where you have to just be okay doing nothing and just processing inwardly. I really struggle when I know the kind of deadlines that are coming in, coming in at us nowadays. What do you feel for yourself? What are the few issues that or problems that you face in your day to day functioning as an editor?
डे टू डे तो इतना नहीं होता है। वो तो अपना पर्सनल होता है, बट बाय एंड लार्ज आई थिंक इट कम्स टू फीडबैक्स, व्हेन इट कम्स टू टाइमलाइन्स, the amount of time that you would need to present your first cut, maybe it needs to be more. The amount of time you need, the turnaround time. Sometimes you presented your cut, but the feedback from the platform might take a very long time. And then, it's a wasted period because you don't know what's happening, right? And when they revert to you, then they give you very little time to come up with your NC2 or 3 or whatever number you may be at. So those kind of things, operational things, which I feel should be um, organize better, and also more dialogue. I feel we need more dialogue with the producer, director, platforms. It shouldn't be a diktat, like I said. Shouldn't be कि नहीं ये changes होने चाहिए. नहीं, we must be, because it is a creative process. If we are able to have that dialogue and not just an email which of notes have come, अब ये कर दो. So I feel that is something which needs to be addressed. Of course, there are whole issues about contracts and credits and monies, which you are doing a great job for fighting for also.
I mean,
Um,
we're all trying to that end, but I don't know honestly how, or if there is a resolution with stuff like credits, for instance. I mean, it's as basic, how basic is it to credit someone? But I also feel that stems, it's also interconnected, right? Because there is very little respect and understanding of the process. Like now that you are talking about the kind of the intensive process that you follow, uh I hope that there is more awareness, that it's not just when we are called technicians, it feels like we're just doing a technical job, whereas as you rightly said, it's a creative job. And so much of the unfairness of our contracts, the problems we have with getting our rightful credit, getting even paid properly, has to all of these are so interconnected.
the thing is with because editing is such an invisible craft, right? Everything else shows. Music you can hear, cinematography you can see, performances you can see, right? Direction भी दिखता है, सब दिखता है. हम लोग ही नहीं दिखते. और दिखने भी नहीं चाहिए. It should be seamless only, na? It should not be visible like that. So therefore, I feel we are so in the background. Like, अच्छा, and people say, edit ही तो करना है. मतलब कोई भी कर सकता है ना? It's like, but editor और operator में बहुत फर्क है. And some people recognize that, and
Yeah,
rightly so. They
yeah.
appreciate craft. ऐसा नहीं है कि if the whole world is against us, no. But there are also people who don't give us the due, or don't respect what we go through, what we do, how much we rectify, fix. Because also in fiction, I'm sure you do a lot fiction, more fiction. Um, they're shooting from every angle, right? आपके पास सारा थोप दिया, edit में देख लिया. So now it's now you're what you so much footage for that one scene, right? So, but they don't appreciate that. So I think it's important for people to understand this craft, really give it the due that it deserves, and that's when. And sometimes I feel a little word when you appreciate, say, your assistant, and you say, "Well done." The amount of joy you have put into that person will give 200% to your work. So, what is the harm in appreciating and giving credit to people for what they have done? It's not like we're asking for something that doesn't belong to us. If you give me, you a top credit and जैसे नहीं आपको टॉप में नहीं हम आपको एंड में देंगे क्यों क्यों नहीं दे सकते आप मुझे टॉप मैंने एडिट किया है ना तो आप मुझे क्यों नहीं दे सकते टॉप में क्रेडिट am I asking for the director's credit? No, I'm asking for my own. So why would you push me down? Why? And they don't realize that by doing these things, by giving the credit, by appreciating a word of appreciation does so much to our morale. And the reverse. The moment you tell me ki nahi nahi, then I feel ki Arey, I'm not appreciated only. Then why am I putting so many hours, getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning and thinking of ideas for what? It's okay, na? Then I'll also do chalta kaam. But nahi hota na chalta kaam because
Exactly. That's the biggest problem also.
that you're sincere. Coming back to that sincerity and honesty wala thing. We feel for it. And because there's a sense of ownership. That of course there is a director, but I am equally accountable and responsible because we make it at the edit table or we break it here. So I'm responsible for this. And therefore I feel, and if I feel, then I must get my due, monetary and credit. And I think it's really high time where people just stopped treating us shabbily and respect our work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Also, Geeta, what would you say, like when we're talking about new editors who want to come into this field? Firstly, I feel it's important for them to have this kind of reality check that you just spoke of, that there is a disparity in the way that we are treated versus how a lot of other department heads are treated. Other than that, what do you think, other than the reality check, what is something that they should know about um, coming into this field, A? And also, like, if they a lot of them want to decide between editing fiction and non-fiction, what are the things they can keep in mind?
I think I would prefer to not box it into fiction and nonfiction. I would say editors, we are storytellers, right?
Fair. Yeah.
Job. And we have to do it in the best possible way, the best rhythm, and all of that. Um, Fiction, non-fiction is something which is a personal choice, right? Okay, I would rather do, somebody would say, no, I prefer fiction, or I would rather do non-fiction. But I would say for someone who's coming in new into the industry, I would say be very flexible. Do a different kinds of work before you can decide what you want to eventually do, right? Sab karo. Reality bhi karo, fiction bhi karo, non-fiction bhi karo, ads bhi karo, music video bhi le, wo bhi kar do. Sab karo. Get your hand on everything, get experiences, meet people. That's a whole learning process. Once you have done everything, then you'll be able to say, okay, my heart lies here. Or I think my strength lies here. Maybe I can't do non-fiction. Maybe I can't deal with this kind of footage. Maybe I don't have the skill set to sit like this for months and do radio edit and fix, figure out the story. I don't have it. Or I just enjoy fiction more. I like मुझे script मिली है मैं उसी में मैं करूँ. So that's fine. So, but I would say before you pick your path, walk the entire street and then choose.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really sensible and very valuable advice. Geeta, thank you so much. This is one of the a very important episode, firstly, also because I'm doing this after I think almost 2 years. But outside of that, it was, whenever I've watched what you've worked on, it has always, it's staggering the kind of work that you've been put in. It was very important. I think we've discussed this as well. It was very important to talk about this kind of work and the effort that is put in. So thank you so much, Geeta, for very, very valuable advice and for your valuable time.
Thank you so much for having me, Andrea. Pleasure. All pleasure's all mine.